This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome to the show. As you can see, no Jennifer this week. She is enjoying a little rest and relaxation. This program, however, never relaxes. And once again, we've got some great information to pass along to you. So here we go. Georgia's crops are facing a scorching challenge this summer. How will farmers cope with the heat, drought, and looming tropical storms? Also on the program, you're going to meet Erica Nolan, a garden consultant on a mission to help others grow their own nutritious food. See how she's changing lives one homestead at a time. Plus, he's back.
Well, hey everybody, Ranger Nat coming up a little bit later. You know, when you think about the state of Georgia, you may not think the word soybean goes hand in hand. But let me tell you, some of the work that's going on at UGA Tifton involving technology like this to combat some of their diseases is off the chart. That and a whole lot more starts right now on the Farm Monitor.
It's been a tough start to the growing season for many farmers here in Georgia. June temperatures were over 2 degrees higher than usual, and large parts of the state saw little to no rain. Damon Jones tells you what crop has been affected the most and if any relief is in sight.
Some of Georgia's biggest crops like peanuts, cotton, and corn are now in the ground. And so far, Mother Nature has been less than kind, with temperatures being well above average despite the highs never reaching triple digits, due mainly to the increased heat at night.
We're seeing temperatures not get down that low. And so we're seeing a lot of this moisture. The moisture causes problems for fungal diseases, causes problems for some crops like corn that need cooler temperatures to do well. Causes problems for livestock because livestock are mammals just like us, and they need cooler temperatures really to do well too.
However, the biggest concern is the complete absence of rain in some areas of the state, as 158 different counties are reporting drought conditions, including 16 of those in severe drought. And while an increase in precipitation is forecasted over the next month, it is likely to be pretty spotty.
It may not be in the same part of the state every time, and they're not going to move very fast because we're not in really much in the way of jet streams right now, but they're going to move a little bit. And so develop in one place, drop rain there, wet up the soil so that the next day that can start to produce thunderstorms. And over time, you would hope that it would kind of distribute over the area. But thunderstorm rain is really spotty, and even within a county, you can get no rain on one part of the county and, several inches on the other part.
This increased heat might also cause problems later in the summer, as the warm ocean waters indicate tropical storms are likely to be on the rise this year.
The tropics will really start to pick up probably around mid-August. It's supposed to be a really busy year. The ocean is hot. There's not much wind shear because we're in neutral conditions right now headed for La Nina. And so once the storms start popping, we could see a lot of storms coming in, almost like a freight train.
That means farmers will need to be prepared to harvest their crop on a moment's notice if the situation arises to maximize their yields.
People that are worried about timing of harvesting and so on are going to really have to watch carefully, because you're going to want to know when those storms are coming in and you're going to want to be able to prepare for that. So this year, the real watchword is get ready now. Make sure you got your paperwork in order, make sure you know what to do, make sure you got plans for your workers and your families and so on, just in case.
And the big question is whether these unprecedented conditions are a trend or just an anomaly. While predicting the future is anything but certain, Knox says the former is definitely a possibility.
I don't know that there's been any studies to say that there's a trend towards this in the future, but it's something we have to keep in mind because the tropics are kind of expanding as the earth gets warmer, and that means we're going to be in the area of the tropics where air is descending, as it does over the Sahara Desert and the U.S. Southwest and so on. And so we could see more frequent patterns of these high pressures that just dominate the area.
Reporting from Watkinsville, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
In other ag news, lawmakers are considering a bill that could offer much-needed relief on the labor front. Chad Smith has more on what's in the bill for farmers and ranchers.
The U.S. House of Representatives Appropriations Committee is set to mark up a funding bill that could include some good news for farmers and ranchers. John Walt Boatwright, Director of Government Affairs for the American Farm Bureau Federation, says the bill, which dictates funding for the Departments of Labor and Health and Human Services, includes a freeze on the adverse effect wage rate and fixes for recently announced DOL rules.
The provisions in this bill really seek to provide some stability in an area that we haven't really had a lot of stability over the past couple of decades as it relates to our labor shortages and our labor costs in farm country. This bill includes some provisions that would provide some of that short-term relief for farmers, that stability for farm workers.
Ahead of the markup, AFBF sent a letter to the chairman and ranking member of the committee offering support of the bill and expressing gratitude for the difficult work the committee has done.
They have included some positive labor provisions that would provide some short-term relief and certainty for farmers and ranchers. So we, in that letter, recognized the work that the appropriators have done and urged the adoption of those provisions.
In addition to freezing the adverse effect wage rate, the bill will also make labor rules more consistent than they've been recently.
This bill also addresses some of the flurry of rulemaking that has taken place just in the past couple of years.
Chad Smith, Washington.
Well, for years, consumers have been curious about their food, with some even turning to homesteading. In Blairsville, one woman is a major advocate and consultant for this lifestyle. Here's John Holcomb with more from Union County.
For Erica Nolan, this is her happy place. This is her passion, as several years ago she became interested in growing plants and vegetables that are healthy, wholesome, and nutritious. Not just for her, though, as she says helping others do the same is without a doubt her calling.
I was so obsessed with plants, and I was so obsessed with spreading the word of how to grow food and optimize your health that I came to a place where I decided this is how I can change the world, is through health and through growing your own food. Because whether it's meat or eggs or vegetables, none of it is the same at the grocery as it is when you grow it on your own homestead. The nutritional value is optimal. And so in order to optimize your health and get everything you need, learning how to do it, even on a small scale, is empowering.
Nolan says she became so obsessed, she decided to start her own business called Instar, in which she consults anyone, anywhere in the world that is interested in starting their own homestead.
I realized that I was able to connect with people and communicate to help them individually, and that as my social media was growing, I could help people virtually from anywhere. So at that point, I started consulting. And I've worked with people in almost every state of the United States. I've worked with people out of the country, from Australia to Egypt, and it's all just taken off from there.
According to Nolan, interest in homesteading has become popular over the last decade or so, but the COVID-19 pandemic really piqued people's interest as shelves became empty and fears about health became reality.
I think the pandemic did have such a huge influence on the homesteading movement. One, because of health, but two, because of the lack of resources and people getting freaked out by seeing grocery stores emptied and needing to provide for their family. So there was this sense of urgency to figure it all out. And I'm optimistic about it not just being a trend, because there was a point in time where this was just a lifestyle. And so as soon as more people hop on board and see the value in homesteading, which a lot has to do with health, a lot of it has to do with straight up independence, then I could see us kind of returning back to our roots.
As you can see, Nolan and her family are very much living out her philosophy, something she finds extremely important as she wants to show people what a sustainable homestead can look like.
I often relate eating homegrown food to watching a movie film in color for the first time, which I know a lot of us can't necessarily relate to. But if you could imagine only seeing movies in black and white, and then all of a sudden seeing The Wizard of Oz in color and thinking, oh, there's a whole nother world out there. That's what it's like with tasting your own homegrown food, raising your own eggs with your chickens or anything else. So it's very important to be able to demonstrate what I'm doing through some educational content and also just plain up inspiration.
Reporting in Blairsville for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
Well, hey everybody, Ranger Nick just coming out of the tractor after scouting the fields for soybean disease, and coming up, I'm going to explain to you how researchers in Tifton are determining how to combat that disease after this.
You know, our farmers are making major investments every year, and our job, the privilege that we all have in the checkoff system, is to go to work for them to ensure there's value in the supply chain waiting for them at this year's harvest, next year's harvest, and the years after that. And you know, not only domestically but internationally, and to have that kind of conviction, not only in my mind but on my heart coming out of that, is really important.
Yes, some encouraging words there for Georgia soybean growers. And with planting season behind them, it's now a waiting game until harvest when they hope to see significant returns. This optimism is backed by the support of the USB and UGA researchers. And back in January, our Ranger Nick visited Tifton for a first-hand look at the research focusing on Georgia soybeans.
What does a forest pathologist do? Holding a juvenile Juro spider. Until next time, for the Farm Monitor, I'm Ranger Nick, reminding you, like I always do, that enthusiasm is contagious. Well, I'm down here on the campus at the University of Georgia in Tifton, and when you think about the word soybean, how many of you think about a state that begins with the letter I? Illinois, Iowa, maybe not Georgia, but let me tell you something. There's an individual that knows a thing or two about soybeans and how they got started here in Georgia, and that's Dr. Bob Kimmerwright. Hey, Doc.
I appreciate you coming down here. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Goodness.
Always a pleasure.
Heard so many great things about this guy, and to get a chance to do a segment together with him is such a special thing. So, Doc, we're standing out in the field now that I promised the folks at home there were soybeans out here not too long ago.
That's correct.
But we're looking at this, and there's not a whole lot of stubble. There's not a whole lot of debris. You just harvested soybeans. Where did they go? Where did all that stuff go?
One of the most important things in my world of diseases and nematodes is we want to get that material broken down. We want to get it to rot. We want to get it turned under. So our team here at the University of Georgia Tifton campus has come out here and they've done a lot of land work, cut it down. They've planted a cover crop behind you. They've turned this under. And so our whole goal is to get that debris to break down so that when we move into the new season, we've gotten rid of a nutritional source for some of the bad guys, some of the nematodes, some of the pathogens.
I want to talk about the bad guys because you're a professor of plant pathology. And so this idea of the bad guys under the soil, these sandy soils here in the coastal plain, what are some of the things that are bothering those soybeans that are issues for that plant?
You know, if you talk in the I-States, you hear a lot about something called the cyst nematode. Nematodes are little worms that feed on the roots. But here, because of our soils, because they're sandy, because of where we are, we're really focused on something called a root knot nematode. Damages those roots, causes galls and bumps on them, starves the plant of nutrients. By getting in there and cleaning these fields up, and by rotating, we can help to try to reduce that problem in our soybean crop and our other crops as well.
And you know, one of the things I learned about from Dr. Bob here is that soybeans, when you think about Georgia, we may not have the acreage that some of the I-States do, about 150-some thousand acres, but the impact that the University of Georgia is having on those soybeans is great. So what I want to do now is go into the lab, and I want to explore some of the other ways that Dr. Bob is looking at disease. So let's go there now. Now we're in a lab, and Dr. Bob, what would we be looking at here with this kind of a microscope that's intimidating me a little bit here? What are we doing?
Well, basically what we are is back to 2004 in a way, because everything you're seeing right now was an investment by the United Soybean Board and the Georgia Commodity Commission for soybeans, an investment for national vigilance against soybean rust, which 100 years after it's first discovered gets to Georgia and gets to the United States. What we're looking at here, we're looking at a corn leaf here, but corn and the soybeans are similar in a situation. A lot of the same producers produce them, but in Georgia, new and from my perspective, exciting diseases that may not be found elsewhere or rarely found elsewhere come to us and some of our neighbors first. So what we're looking at under here is not soybean rust, but in this very similar spirit, we're looking at tar spot and also southern corn rust.
Okay.
And what makes these similar is that they are, at least the tar spot is new to us, but the most important thing in looking at it through the microscope is the early detection, because we want our producers to be profitable. And if they're profitable, they have to know when it's time to spray. And to know when it's time to spray, you have to know where the bad guys are. And that's what we're doing here, looking for bad guys, trying to find the bad guys when they first arrive in the state.
I want to take you back to 1765. Believe it or not, that's where soybeans came into the United States and here in Georgia all those years ago. And here we are, Doc, in a barn that's full of equipment that's worth a lot more than I am here. And I want to ask you about the future of soybeans here in Georgia and the great work that's being done in the College of Ag. What would a message be to our friends at home about what is the future like for soybean research as we try to knock down that disease like you mentioned today?
You know, Nick, when I talk to my family about this, family who's not involved in farming, and we look at a crop like soybeans, and you look at the changing climate, you look at geopolitical problems, you look at how soybeans are important around the world, and the impact the University of Georgia and Georgia growers have is disproportionate to the amount of soybeans we grow here. And it's absolutely critical that we continue this investment, because soybeans as a crop, as an animal feed, as a nutritional source, is a way for the future. And without investment, without the equipment you see behind us, without the lab work, there is no future. And so the future is bright, but we can't stop looking. We can't stop being curious and trying to figure out what can be done better in a different way to make better yields, better, more drought-resistant varieties, and everything along that way.
Absolutely, and I got to give a shout out to you. Thank you so much, Doc, for today. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you, and a shout out to our extension agents out there that are scouting those fields and looking for those diseases and working with those producers and farmers. Wouldn't be able to do it without them. So if you're online and you want to look up about what's going on with other extension agents in your neck of the woods, or maybe even hop on over to the Ranger Nick Facebook page or the Farm Monitor Facebook page while you're online, do that. We'd love to hear from you in this new year. And until next time, for the Farm Monitor, as I always say, I'm Ranger Nick, reminding you that enthusiasm is contagious. So pass it on. Y'all, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you right back here again this time next month. See ya. Holding a juvenile Juro spider. Until next time, for the Farm Monitor, I'm Ranger Nick, reminding you, like I always do, that enthusiasm is contagious.
Nick, great job, sir. Next month on Ranger Nick, we're taking you to Atkinson County for an in-depth look at one of Georgia's oldest and most storied row crops, tobacco. Join us as we explore how agronomists are diligently studying the plant, the diseases that impact its growth, and the meticulous steps involved from harvesting to consumer use. It's a fascinating journey through the life cycle of a crop that has deep roots in Georgia's agricultural history. And don't forget, if you missed any part of Nick's episode or other stories on today's program, you can still see them in their entirety at our YouTube channel. From inspiring farmer profiles to deep agricultural insights, there's something for everyone, and the archive goes as far back as 2009. Up next, from high yields to disease resistance, peanut breeders at UGA are working diligently to create high-performing varieties and using advanced technology like this sophisticated robot.
You might be surprised to know how much water is used on a dairy farm day after day. It's no surprise to dairy farmers, though. They know that milk is made up of 87% water. That means every cow drinks a lot of water to stay hydrated and to produce nutrient-rich milk. And since farmers are such dedicated stewards of the land, they take water usage very seriously. Optimizing water use is more than just a good idea. It's one of the key sustainability goals that the entire U.S. dairy community is constantly striving to reach.
I think it would really surprise people to know that 1 gallon of water on our dairy can be used as many as 4 times.
Dairy farmers recycle and reuse to conserve water every day.
Use it to cool the milk, which needs to be cold when it goes to market.
And then ultimately, we're storing all of that water, saving every drop of that water that's used on our dairy.
So the water cycle goes around and around.
I think it's pretty amazing that the water we're using in our barn ultimately grows the crops we feed our cows.
Another sustainability goal that U.S. dairy producers have set for themselves is achieving greenhouse gas neutrality by 2050. They're investing, researching, and continuously working to protect the environment, today and for the future. For more fun facts about cows and dairy farming, watch our other short videos in this series. Visit us online at thedairyalliance.com.
Well, finally this week, it's well documented that Georgia leads the nation in peanut production thanks to dedicated breeders. John Holcomb reports from Tifton on their remarkable work and efficient use of new technology.
At the heart of the peanut industry's growth and success here in Georgia lies the dedicated work of peanut breeders at the University of Georgia, who work tirelessly to develop new varieties of peanuts that will benefit the industry as a whole, which is done by focusing on specific traits that work well in other varieties and try to combine them all into one.
Our goal as plant breeders is to combine different varieties together to make better varieties. So we do that by crossing high-yielding peanut varieties with those that may have better disease resistance, better shelling characteristics, better flavor qualities, basically trying to combine a whole lot of traits into one single package so that we can send those out to growers and they can grow those and sell it to the shellers and manufacturers.
To no one's surprise, the process can be tricky, as Brown says that they're working to satisfy a number of customers, everyone from the producer all the way down the line to the consumer.
There's several different peanut products that people enjoy on a daily basis. Those include peanut butter, candy bars and other peanut-based candies, roasted, shelled roasted peanut products, as well as in-shell roasted peanut products. And so each of those different products requires a different combination of characteristics. And so it's important for us to develop those varieties for the grower. But while combining all these different traits for the sheller, manufacturer, and consumer, we also have to put these into a package that a grower is going to want to plant on his farm.
According to Brown, the entire process to develop a new variety from start to finish can take longer than a decade, which is why he and his team are now incorporating technology to assist them, like this robot they've named Watson, that will help them gather important data they need much more efficiently.
We make a cross between two different varieties that have a list of good characteristics, and we evaluate thousands of progenies per cross year after year after year. It takes about 10 to 12 years to develop a new peanut variety, and it's a numbers game. The more progenies that we look at, the more likely we are to find those varieties that have all the characteristics that we need in a single package. So one of the things that we're doing is we're incorporating new technologies to help us process more progenies each year. We're using high throughput phenotyping. We're using high throughput phenotyping in the way of drones and UAVs, aerial drones. We're using now a ground-based phenotyping robot. And then we're also using some high throughput seed sorters that look at the oil characteristics non-destructively in a very high speed fashion. All this to make our variety development pipeline faster, better, and cheaper.
Reporting in Tifton for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
John, thanks so much. And as always, thank you for spending time with us. For everyone here at the show, I'm Ray DeLessio saying take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time right here on the Farm Monitor.